Imagine a rainy Sunday in your modern life. Outside, a heavy torrential downpour is drumming against your window pane. Inside, you're wrapped in a fleece blanket, contemplating your third trip to the kitchen for no reason, or rewatching the exact same funny clip while the aroma of freshly ordered pizza fills your living room. The sound of rain isn't a threat. It's cozy background noise, an invitation to cancel all your plans, stay lazy, and do absolutely nothing. Now, let's strip all of that away. Take away the double-pane windows, the central heating, the dry clothes, the electricity, and the pizza delivery. Instead, project yourself 30,000 years into the past, during the height of the last ice age. You are crouched inside a dark, freezing stone cave. Outside, a brutal, relentless storm has been raging for 5 straight days. The sky is a leaden sheet of gray, the ground has turned into a freezing sea of mud, and the temperature is plummeting. You are trapped inside with 15 other people, your family, elders, screaming toddlers, and exhausted hunters. Your furs are damp, your feet are numb, and nobody has been able to leave the cave for a week. This brings us to a question that evolutionary historians rarely get asked, but one that defined human survival for over 200,000 years. What did ancient humans actually do when it rained all week? When a storm grounded the tribe and locked them in pitch-black confinement, how did they keep from freezing, starving, or simply going mad and turning on each other? The answer isn't just about passive survival. It reveals how forced isolation turned a hairless ape with a sharp rock into an engineer, a scientist, an artist, and a storyteller. To understand the sheer crisis of a week-long rainstorm in the Paleolithic, you first have to understand the brutal physics of cold moisture. In the wild, wetness is far more dangerous than cold air alone. Water-soaked furs pull heat away from the human body 25 times faster than still air. If your animal skins get drenched in freezing rain, hypothermia will kill you long before hunger ever becomes a factor. Which meant that the moment torrential rain started, step number 1 was absolute lockdown inside a shelter. Natural caves were prime real estate because stone walls provided a solid barrier against driving wind and rain. But living in a cave during a week-long downpour created an immediate, life-threatening dilemma: the battle for fire. Fire was life. It provided heat, light, and protection from predators who were also seeking shelter from the storm. But how do you keep a fire burning for 7 consecutive days when every stick of wood outside is dripping wet? Throwing wet logs onto an open fire smothers the embers and produces massive clouds of choking black smoke. In an enclosed cave, heavy smoke could easily suffocate an entire tribe within hours. This is where early humans proved themselves to be master thermal engineers. Excavations at Paleolithic cave sites show that early humans didn't just build fires randomly. They placed hearths specifically near cave entrances where natural air currents created a chimney effect, pulling smoke up and out along the ceiling while drawing fresh air in along the floor. Furthermore, ancient tribes maintained dedicated firekeepers whose sole job was to preserve dry fuel reserves inside the deepest recesses of the cave. When wood was wet, they didn't burn logs. They used fat-burning lamps, hollowed-out stones filled with melted animal marrow, and wicks made of dried moss. These marrow lamps burned with a bright, steady flame, producing zero heavy smoke and providing reliable light through days of darkness. They also understood wood chemistry long before chemistry existed. Early humans hoarded birch bark, which contains hydrophobic oils called betulin. Even when drenched by rain, birch bark ignites instantly, allowing firekeepers to dry out damp firewood piece by piece over the coals. As the storm dragged on, the cave transformed into an active engineering workshop. When you can't hunt, you repair. Archaeological layers in sites like Denisova Cave in Siberia show that periods of prolonged indoor shelter coincided with intense bursts of tool manufacturing and tailoring. Sitting by the fire, ancient humans used flint scrapers to process animal hides. They used delicate-eyed needles, carved from bird bones over 50,000 years ago, to stitch together multi-layered waterproof garments. They coated leather seams with animal fat and red ochre, a natural iron oxide clay that acted as a prehistoric miracle product. Red ochre was a powerful antibacterial agent, preventing hides from rotting in high humidity while creating a water-resistant seal on clothing and skin. And then there was the hygiene problem. When a tribe is stuck inside a cave for a week straight, how do you prevent the living area from becoming a biohazardous swamp of waste and parasites? Archaeologist Lynn Wadley's excavations at Border Cave in South Africa revealed that as far back as 200,000 years ago, early humans constructed deliberate, multi-layered sleeping platforms. Underneath mats of fragrant, insect-repelling camphor grass, researchers discovered thick layers of clean wood ash spread across the floor. Wood ash contains potassium hydroxide, Li. When spread across damp cave floors, ash acts as a powerful desiccant and disinfectant. It absorbs moisture, kills fungal spores, and repels fleas, ticks, and lice that thrive in humid environments. Prehistoric humans were performing chemical pest control and sanitation long before written history began. Yet surviving the physical cold was only half the battle. The other half was surviving the psychological pressure cooker of prolonged indoor confinement, what modern psychologists call cabin fever. Cooped up in a dark stone room with no privacy, high social tension could easily escalate into deadly conflict. So how did ancient humans keep the peace? They invented human culture. Deep in the dark, while rain hammered the outside world, ancient artists crawled into quiet alcoves with torches and mineral pigments. By the flickering light of fat lamps, they painted galloping horses, leaping bison, and majestic mammoths onto the stone walls of Chauvet, Lascaux, and Altamira. Archaeoacoustician Igor Reznikov discovered something astounding. Cave paintings are almost always concentrated in the exact spots within a cave that have the most powerful acoustic resonance. Early humans didn't just paint pictures, they created multi-sensory theaters. When trapped by storms, tribes gathered in these resonant chambers.
As elders beat hand drums made of stretched hides and blew through flutes carved from hollow vulture bones, like the 40,000-year-old bone flutes found in Geissenklösterle, Germany, the flickering firelight made the painted animals on the walls appear to move and run in 3 dimensions. Music and visual art were vital neurological tools designed to reduce cortisol, soothe anxiety, and synchronize the emotional states of a stressed group stuck in the dark. And when the work was done and the fire burned low, the rainstorm brought out the ultimate human survival mechanism: storytelling. Anthropologist Polly Weissner's landmark study of hunter-gatherer communication revealed a dramatic shift depending on environment and weather. During outdoor work, conversations are practical, tracking game, finding water, fixing bows. But when forced indoors by night or rain, conversation shifts almost entirely to myth, legend, and history.
Around the glowing coals, elders passed down the collective wisdom of generations. They told stories about past megafloods, about ancestors who survived freezing winters, about sky spirits, and about the moral rules required to keep a tribe alive. These stories were the hard drive of human civilization. They taught young children how to read cloud patterns, which plants cured stomach ailments, and why sharing food during lean times was the highest law of the tribe. A week of rain wasn't a wasted week. It was an educational boot camp. It was when the young learned the history of their people, when tools were sharpened, when songs were composed, and when bonds of kinship were welded tight against the dark. Eventually, the clouds would break. The heavy gray sky would split open, allowing bright, crisp sunlight to pour into the mouth of the cave. The tribe would emerge into a washed, clean world, the air fresh with the smell of wet earth and pine resin, streams swollen with water, and tracking game made easy in the soft mud. They stepped out of the cave, not as broken survivors who had barely endured a miserable week, but as a refreshed, unified community. Their clothes were mended and waterproofed, their bellies were fed from dry stores, their minds were rich with new legends, and the walls behind them were forever transformed into galleries of magnificent art. The next time a heavy rainstorm rolls in and forces you to stay inside, and you feel that familiar itch of boredom while staring at your phone, take a moment to look out the window. Remember that you are carrying the DNA of resilient innovators who, tens of thousands of years ago, sat in dark, damp caves listening to the exact same sound of falling rain. They didn't just endure the dark. The storm wasn't a punishment. It was where humanity was born.